Hi, everyone. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Again, for those of you that are new or watching this on the replay, my name is Lindsay. I'm a trained therapist turned certified life and empowerment coach for women. I work with women who are committed to creating extraordinary goals, to creating an extraordinary life where they get exactly what they want. I teach mindset tools and strategies to help women become their future self, really make reaching their dreams inevitable. And today I'm going to be talking to you about, I guess, what I think are the 3 mental habits for achieving those extraordinary goals. And so the first question, I guess, I asked myself is what actually allows somebody to be extraordinary? And I find that when I ask people this question, I get some common answers for sure. It'll be things like a person's skill set, right? Level of intelligence, maybe their background, so status, money, things like that. And while I don't discount these things in contributing to somebody's success. So there is definitely a level of privilege, if you will, that can contribute. And so we don't want to ignore that. But I do want you to consider the idea that what really and truly makes somebody successful or extraordinary are these 3 mental habits that I'm going to share with you that anybody can learn. And the first one is the willingness to embrace failure, getting comfortable with the discomfort and believing in possibility. So I'll talk more about each of these and how you actually can practice them and implement them. But I just wanted to say that when you have these 3 combined, what you create is commitment, right? And from commitment, we take consistent action. And the more commitment we have, the less chances there are that we will give up. So when you really practice these 3 mental habits, you create a large amount of commitment, and that means that you continually take action towards your goal without giving up. And so when we think about the previous slide and the items which we think contribute to someone being extraordinary, money, wealth, status, having the time available, all of these different things. I would argue that all of those can be in place, but without these 3 mental habits, they won't make a difference. So if you have an impossible dream or a goal that you want to achieve, the question really to ask is, how do I learn to embrace failure, get comfortable with discomfort, and believe in possibility? And I think the first answer to that really is managing what I know you've all heard me talk about, the primitive brain, right? And so just as a quick reminder, the main purpose of our brains to keep us alive, keep us safe, right? It focuses on 3 motivations in order to do this: avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve energy, which is called the motivational triad. And based on this triad, your primitive brain views things that you've never done before as dangerous. Okay. This is why your brain will say you need more time, you need more money, you need different skills. It wants to keep you safe. And the reason is, or the reason why this is unsafe, right? Going after an extraordinary goal is unsafe is because it requires energy that the brain sees necessary to conserve for things like hunting, sex, warding off predators, and the risk of rejection and failure. So back in the primitive days, if we were rejected from our tribe, we would likely die. So I know this is just very high level review for most of you, but I just wanted to start off this discussion because the basis of being able to practice and perfect, if that's even a word I want to use, that's the one that came to me. There's a better one, I'm sure. These 3 mental habits is to truly understand the primitive brain, understand when it is showing up, right? And why it is there. Okay. So fear and doubt are necessary, right, to keep us safe. We don't want to get rid of that because there are times in our lives where we are going to really need it. But what we want to get really good at noticing is when it's not necessary, when we are not truly in danger, and when we are likely very safe. And the biggest risk is just a feeling that we're going to feel like failure or rejection. So how does this apply? Let's talk about each of the 3 habits and what they look like. So embracing failure first comes with understanding that failure is the same as death, according to your primitive brain, right? But actually, like in reality, it's the exact opposite, right? Failure is the way to success. And we know this. It's not something that we don't know. So I know that logically we all understand this. But it's something where we want to be able to redirect the brain when it starts to focus on failure as something terrible. You can practice showing it that it actually is a good thing. It means that we're on the right track. So a couple things that I do and that I recommend for my clients is first asking yourself, what if I fail, right? What then? And I have them write out the worst case scenario. And then I have them write out the plan or the solution to that scenario. So if your worst case scenario is something like, I'll go bankrupt, let's really consider it. Like allow yourself, rather than to just be afraid of that thought and that possibility, allow yourself to truly consider it, right? And write out a solution, right? If you did go bankrupt, what would you do? What is the plan? And what this does is it may seem counterintuitive because it may be like, well, why are we going to focus on this negative scenario? But what it does is it allows you to redirect those thoughts. So the next time they come up and you have a fearful thought, like, what if I go bankrupt? You can remind yourself that, hey, we've got a plan for that, right? So it's a way of just settling the primitive brain, allowing yourself to see that even in the worst case scenario, you could work things out. The second thing that I do and that I ask my clients to do is I want them to really consider what they're making failure mean about them as an individual. So for most of us, if we fail, there's going to be a list of things that makes us mean. I'm not saying this right. Let me start again. For most of us, if we fail, we've got a list of things that it will mean about us. So for example, if I fail at my goal, I will think I'm a loser, or I'm no good at anything that I try. I'm a disappointment to my family or to my parents, right? We'll have this long list of things that we make failure mean about us as a person. And I think it's important to consider those and to really look at them and ask ourselves, is that really true? You know, I failed at attempting this thing. And do I want to make it mean that I'm a loser? Do I want to make it mean that I've disappointed people or let them down? Or is there something else I want to make it mean instead? Right? Do I want to actually look at the facts and say, okay, what actually happened here? You know, what are the facts of this failure? How can I use them, right, as data to make a different decision going forward or to try something new? So both of these solutions, allowing yourself to consider the worst case scenario and then coming up with a plan, and then thinking about what failure means about you as a person and what you want to make it mean instead, will help you to be able to embrace failure, right? To see it as the way to success. And if we don't fail, right? So we will start to see things in this light. If we don't fail, it means we aren't taking action, right? But if we're taking action, we're trying new things, we're embracing the opportunity, we're seeing solutions, and we are willing to try new things, then even when we fail, it means we're learning. So that's the first mental habit. The second one is to get comfortable with discomfort. And I said here in brackets, the right kind of discomfort. And I'll get into that more as we get through this slide. So as we know, the primitive brain loves comfort of any kind, right? Anything that is easy and familiar, it will reward you for choosing, okay? And it does that with dopamine. So when we choose something that's very comfortable, very easy, very familiar, we get a hit of dopamine. But you want to choose your discomfort wisely, because you will feel discomfort if you stay stuck, right? In a life that's unfulfilled and not aligned to your true purpose. And I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, actually. That kind of discomfort can be, quote unquote, very easy, right? Because it doesn't require any effort on our part, really. We're just like, I remember being in a job that I hated, and it's just like, I go to that job and I get through the day, I do my work, and I feel miserable, and maybe I cry, all of these things, but I don't have to think of any solutions, right? I don't have to take any new actions. Generally, it was someone else's problem, right? In my case, it was like the place that I worked for, the boss that was managing me. So that it is discomfort, though, because you are unhappy. You're feeling, I felt disconnected, right? To myself, I felt disconnected from others. And so that is discomfort. It just happens to not take any effort, right? And we will also feel discomfort in going after your dreams. And I have felt that discomfort as well. And I will tell you that it is in some ways harder, right? Because I have to feel that discomfort. I have to really feel it. And I have to choose to feel it, right? Because the easy thing to do would be to give up. I would get an enormous amount of dopamine, actually, when we give up, when we're just like, I'm not doing this anymore, right? That whatever the thing is that you don't want to do, I'm not doing this anymore. And we step back and we go do something like sit down on the couch or eat some type of food, or go shopping. Your brain releases an enormous amount of dopamine for giving up. And so what it is it's a very tricky thing that your brain does that makes you think you've just made the right decision, right? Oh, this is hard. I want to give up. Then I give up, and there's a huge amount of relief that goes through your body. I don't know if you've ever felt this, because I've done this before, where you just give up on something, even if it's in the moment, and you feel a huge amount of relief, and that relief comes from the large amount of dopamine that's just dropped into your body. And that makes you believe, see, I made the right decision. So you want to be careful with this one. You want to recognize that you're feeling discomfort, because it is hard. It is hard to try something new. It is hard to put yourself out there. It is hard to change your habits. And that type of discomfort means you are taking action, right? And you're becoming a different person. You're becoming the person that you required to be in order to achieve that goal. So just all I want to say at this slide is, again, choose your discomfort wisely. Just know you will feel it either way, but one is the discomfort of growth. And if you can get used to the discomfort of growth, and you can embrace it and feel it and still take action, you really will be able to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. It will take effort, though. So stay the course, keep practicing it, and it gets easier and easier. So I remember it wasn't that long ago where I would hit this discomfort in my own business, and it would shut me down for like a few days. It blocked all my creativity. make me feel depressed. I wouldn't be able to take a lot of action. I felt terrible about myself. And it would just shut me down for many days. But as I've been practicing that, feeling that discomfort and taking action anyways, it still comes. I still have my days where I get out of bed and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I cannot do this. But it only lasts, I've been noticing for now it's down to an hour, maybe an hour or an hour and a half or 40 minutes. So it still comes, but because I've gotten used to practicing feeling it and going through it and then continuing on anyways, it's just, I'm able to do it a lot faster now. So as you practice this, it will get easier in the sense that the time it takes for you to get out of that headspace where you really want to give up and take action will get shorter. Okay, and the third habit that I want to talk about is possibility. So believing in possibility. The primitive brain hates possibility, hates it, right? Because it takes you out of your comfort zone. It takes you to the place of, I don't know. And it's very, very dangerous according to the primitive brain, right? And again, just like discomfort, you just want to get really adept at noticing when this pops up for you and if you choose to believe it or not. If you choose to believe that possibility, thinking of the impossible, if you will, is something that you want to see as negative or dangerous or not good, right? So this is a little bit more untangible, not super scientific. But the way I think about this is tapping into my authentic voice. So the primitive brain always sounds like fear, always. So it's not just that it's negative, really. It's more that it taps into fear. And it sometimes will send you very positive messages or, messages that seem positive that are still based in fear. So that's what you want to be noticing. The difference between the primitive brain and your authentic voice is your authentic voice, whatever the thought is that comes up, will have no fear. There'll be no fear. It's excited, right? It's full of wonder. It's open to possibility and driven by passion. Always, always, always. Our authentic selves are pure desire, pure possibility, and there's never, ever any fear. So this is how you know the difference between the two voices. And this is where you can decide which one you want to listen to, right? The one that is tapped into fear and safety, or the one that is tapped into what you really want and what's possible. And for some of you, you may be very aware of both of these voices right now. And for some of you, it's going to take some practice because you just think the primitive brain, those messages that it sends are fact and that it's who you are. But the thing that I want my clients to know and that I want you to know is I don't believe that primitive brain has anything to do with you. I don't think it represents you at all, in fact. Okay. And I don't think there's anything wrong with you because you have these fears, because you have these thoughts. I don't attach them to you. I don't attach them to me. It's not my authentic self, right? It is just how I'm built and how I am meant to stay safe. So then I look at what is really coming up for me in terms of desire and what is the possibility that I see. And you can still use logic, right? Your logic comes from the part of your brain known as the prefrontal cortex. It makes decisions. You can use that to help you make decisions. Okay. Because yes, sometimes our dreams and the possibilities that we see for ourselves, there are some things to consider in there that we want to use logic to help us decide. But logic is very different than fear also. So you want to ask yourself things like, if I knew things would work out, what would I choose? If fear wasn't an option, what would I do? And I'm going to add a new one on there that I think is like just an amazing question that was posed to me yesterday. Rather than saying, if I knew things would work out, what would I choose? Consider the thing that is so important to you to do, that you want to do so much that even if you knew you would fail, you would still do it. Right? Because it's easy to think about what we would do if we had no barriers and no obstacles and that we would succeed. But I think, and I'm going to answer this question for myself, I haven't done it yet. But I think if you ask yourself, what is so important to me that I am willing to take action on it and willing to pursue it, even if I fail? I think that one really gets to what matters to us. I don't think it's going to be easy to ask or easy to answer, I should say. It might be something you want to do with a partner. I find a lot of times when I try to just answer these questions for myself, it doesn't work as well as if I just have someone else ask me and allow me to kind of talk it out. So yeah, I didn't have that one on the slide, but that's the one I think I'm going to go with and try. And I think the last thing I want to point out is the primitive brain's messages are also compounded by the way we've been socialized as women, right? And how we've been taught really that what we want doesn't really matter, right? We're there to nurture, we're there to take care of, we're there to support other people. And so consider that it is very normal that all of this seems very difficult for us. And again, to just remind yourself that none of that has anything to do with you. And it does take effort, yes, for us as women to move past those things, move past the primitive brain and move past our socialization and to tap into that authentic voice. But I think it's so worth it. And I had a client the other day and it was magic because she said she has finally tapped into that authentic voice and she is now doing what she loves. You know, she's quit the job that she had as a teacher and she's opened her own dance and yoga company. And she's finally making decisions from her future instead of commitment to the past or even the current self. And she said, it's amazing how when you do this, when you start to tap into who you are authentically and you start to live from that, how everything gets better. Right? And you could just see she was so lit up, like everything gets better. And then as women, when we feel that alive and we feel that impassioned, we just make a bigger impact on those around us. So I think this work is important for ourselves so that we can have that feeling of like, wow, when I'm just really true to myself, life is very sweet. Life is very magical. It doesn't mean it's not hard, you know, there's not hard decisions, but it just feels easier. And then from that place, what can we do, right? What is possible when we're really tapping into that place? So yeah, I guess just the last thing to say is when you do these three things, again, you are able to stay committed. That's kind of the most important part of these 3 mental habits. And commitment is what allows you to take action over and over and over again. Okay. You'll see failure as a stepping stone, discomfort as a sign that you're doing things right. And I think that this really is the secret to being able to achieve your goals, right? It's not going to matter if you have status, wealth, special skills, all of these different things. If you can't understand the primitive brain, how it's impacting you, and then choose to strengthen these 3 mental habits in order to stay committed, right? Without the commitment, all of the other things don't matter. So that is what I have for you today. I think this slide we've already talked about just these reminders that failure is required, discomfort is inevitable, and possibility comes from your authentic self, always. And if you're scared or doubting yourself, your brain is doing exactly what it should, right? And thank goodness for that, because honestly, without the primitive brain, we'd die, because our authentic self is not looking for the fear. It's not looking for the negative, right? So we want to be grateful for it, and then just know when we need to pay attention to it and when we want to just keep moving forward with our goals. Okay, so I wanted today, I thought, oh, I just saw Lakeisha entered and I missed her. Darn it. Okay, that's okay. I wanted to do something today, just because I think it means a lot to me that you guys come to these sessions. And I really love to share the gift of coaching. And so if you're here today live, or if you watch this replay, I would love to gift you a coaching experience, just as a thank you again for spending time with me. No strings attached. I just love to do this, and I love to gift women this experience. So you can reach out to me. My email is just on the screen here. Shoot me over a message with the word masterclass in the subject line, just so I know, and I'll get you set up. And I also just wanted to let you know, I think a couple of you already know this that are on the call, but for those watching the replay, if you want to learn more about these habits and all of the other things that I teach, I just want you to check out the new course that I'm offering. It gives people an option to learn these concepts and take them into their own life and implement them without being a long-term one-on-one client. So if it's something that you're interested in learning more about these concepts and tools, I teach that in my new course, Empowered and Extraordinary. And you can get more information on that in the link in my bio on Instagram, which I've also put up here on the screen. And if you have any questions about it, please reach out. I'd be happy to answer. The purpose of the course really is to get women learning these concepts quickly and out there in the world implementing them. So part of what I will do during that course is some coaching, right, to help you do that, and some activities that you can take home to implement into your own life. But it's really a very condensed, all of the stuff that I do with my one-on-one clients in 6 months condensed into 12 weeks. Okay. I want to say thank you to everyone for attending. I am going to stop recording and just come on to say hi to those that are here.